Alright YouTube, how you guys doing? In this video I'm going to kind of cover a topic which I get regularly in my inbox. The iPad 2 versus the MacBook Air. Which one should I get? Why should I get it? And right from the outset, they are both entirely different devices, and I'm going to kind of hopefully make it apparent as to why in this video. I'm going to cover pricing, the hardware, the software, and then kind of conclude it up with my views on it, and hopefully in the comments or a video response you guys can butt in and let me know. Now straight off the bat, the pricing. The iPad 2 you can get, for the cheapest iPad 2 you can get is £399 UK British pounds, whereas the cheapest MacBook Air is more than double that price. So the 11-inch MacBook Air baseline model is going to cost you £867, and needless to say, they are priced in accordance for what they are. They're not competing each other, hence they've got different price points. Going on to hardware, the weight of the iPad 2 is 0.6 kg versus the 11-inch MacBook, which is 1.03 kg. Of course, if you go with the 13-inch MacBook Air, that's going to be slightly more heavier. The size of the screen is 9.7 inch, which is the iPad 2, versus the 13 or the 11-inch MacBook Air. In my opinion, and what she likes, the bigger the better. In terms of kind of sticking along the sides of the size, the screen, which is probably the most important thing for me. You know, on the iPad 2 you've got a glossy screen versus the MacBook Air, which has a high resolution glossy. Now the difference between these two is day and night, or at least for me it is anyway. You know, the iPad 2 can get smudgy, obviously, because the main point of contact is your fingers. And not only that, the main thing is glare. So if you're sitting in lighting, or if you're sitting outside somewhere, or you're sitting near a window, light is coming through, you're going to have to adjust the position of the iPad, which can get annoying. And because the screen's so small, you can only do a limited amount of things. So the MacBook Air wins that race, or hands down, in my opinion. In terms of ports, on the MacBook Air you've got two USB ports. On the iPad, on the other hand, you've only got a dock connector, and that's it. Yes, you can get a USB device to fit in the dock connector, but it's very limited as to what you can connect. So some of the high resolution microphones that you connect in, the chances are you're going to get a screen saying it's not compatible because of the power and so on. So it's very limited to what you can connect to the iPad 2, whereas the MacBook Air can handle anything and everything. The processor, I don't know why I'm going over this, but the iPad 2 obviously has a much slower processor, the A5 chip, which is made by Apple, versus Intel's Core 2 Duo found on the MacBook Airs, both the 11 and the 13-inch. Now the storage on the iPad 2 is flash storage. You can get it 16 gigabytes, 32 gigabytes, or 64 gigabytes. On the baseline 11-inch MacBook, it starts from 64 gigabytes and it goes all the way up to 128. So you've only got two options on the 11-inch. However, if you go up for a 13-inch MacBook Air, you can get 128 or 256. And the important thing here is that the MacBook Air has got a super speedy flash drive inside it, similar to what's found in a MacBook Air, and this is why the MacBook Air boots up faster. It's very zippy. It's got a standby time of 30 days. You know, coming to the battery life, the iPad 2 has got anywhere up to 10 hours of usage the internet using your Wi-Fi, whereas the MacBook Air 11-inch has got up to 5 hours. So the iPad 2 kind of wins in that. Remember, it's only up to, so it depends on as to what you do, how much internet you use, how much flash content you're using on your MacBook Air, how many games you're playing on your iPad 2. If you're playing so much, obviously the battery life does decrease accordingly. Now coming on to the software. So on the iPad you've got iOS, and on the MacBook Air you've got Snow Leopard. Both entirely different beasts. The iOS is more of a consumer friendly, you know, kind of orientated towards easier user interface, something that you would do a few taps and that was it, but you can't do anything advanced. And let's take a look at Pages or iMovie, for example. You don't want to be editing a full-blown video like I've done. This video that you're watching has gone through a process, and it could have never been done through an iMovie for the iPad. It would simply take too long. It would be near impossible doing it. Yes, iMovie for iOS or on the iPad is good for family stuff. You know, quick movie, a holiday, you've got the family around, get your iPad and they can all see it at the same time. It's good in that respect, but any advanced thing you want to do, or if you're going to be sitting in front of a screen, you know you want to put a really good you know, project out there, then the Mac is going to give you more power and a better experience and more advanced functions, so that, you know, the software on the Mac is better, it's different to what you would find on an iPad. And on the other hand, personally, if I gave a MacBook Air to my mum, she probably wouldn't know how to use one. On the other hand, if I gave her an iOS device, she'll know what to do. It's just because it's made towards a certain amount of people. Similarly, if you look at Pages for the iPad and Pages for the Mac, both different. Would you really want to type an entire report, an entire thesis, an entire dissertation on an iPad? It would be not, you know, staring at a 9.7 inch screen, a glossy screen, and doing a full-blown essay on it. I would think not. Yes, you would probably use the iPad or Pages when you're on the way to work, you know, quickly read over a report or just read generally, make the small additions. So I would really start, for me, I would start the report on the MacBook Air and probably use the iPad, you know, on the way to work, or if I'm sitting on the couch, quickly open it up and see if I can kind of, you know, do some edits, or pass it to someone else in the family to have a read over my essay, and I can make those quick changes on the iPad. So guys, really just to sum it up, the iPad is not something I would use as a primary computer, no way. It's something that I would purchase in addition to a Mac, so whether it be a Mac Mini, an iMac, a Mac Pro, a MacBook Air, I wouldn't purely focus on the iPad. There's no way any professional would just focus on an iPad as a primary computer. If you're a student, this is an excellent device, the iPad, for carrying about your notes, lecture slides, taking it in for presentations, for group work, amazing. But would I really rely on it for the sole purpose of doing my entire university year on it? Nope, I don't think so, and I'm sure most of you would agree with it. The iPad 2 or the iPad 1 as well is not a content creation device, it's more of an entertainment device than anything. That said, Steve Jobs did say in October 2010 when he was launching the new MacBook Airs, he said that the MacBook Air has come from the iOS devices, it's a constant circle, and he had this graphic up. And basically his point was, the way the Mac is going, some of the features are going to be ported over from the iPad, and certainly what we've seen from the MacBook Air, the lightweight, the quicker loading up of the OS, fast, the standby time 30 days, you know, you've got a similar standby time on the iPad, well not 30 days, but you know, if you don't use your iPad it is going to stay, or the battery is going to be quite healthy. And I'm sure come WWDC, when we're going to see a full preview of OS X Lion, we've only had a sneak preview so far, but I think there's much more to come from Lion, and we're going to see quite a lot of stuff ported from iOS as to how the operating system works, and the future remains bright for Lion. And more recently, Apple has introduced Apple Store 2.0, and what this basically is, Apple's retail stores have kind of gone a redesign in terms of the way how things work. And by that I mean is, if you go up to a MacBook area now, you'll find an iPad next to a MacBook or a MacBook Pro, and even a MacBook Air, Mac Mini. And the iPad is there to facilitate if you need any help with the MacBook, if you want to see what kind of upgrades they are available, if you want to customize your Mac. Now previous to this they had a paper, it would tell you how much the price was, what the upgrades you could get, but now everything is done on the iPad, and it's basically just to say, look, the iPad is easy to use and it's kind of an accessory to a Mac. Mac sales are on the rise each quarter, and if Apple's not stupid enough, of course that means one thing, they're not going to close the Mac division down anytime soon. They're having records per quarter, that's selling well, why stop it? So the iPad has got, I would say, a good couple of years before it even touches to what the current Macs or the current desktop or notebook laptops can do. That's just my feeling on it, guys, but what do you think? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you not agree? Have you recently purchased a MacBook Air or an iPad 2? Have you really recently purchased a MacBook Air and returned your iPad or sold it on because you're not using the iPad as much? I don't know, but leave your comment. I'm finding personally that I'm using the MacBook Air a lot. The iPad is there between the whole family, which they can use if they want, which does get used. So it's just, I'm not using it, you know, quite a lot, but the family is. But guys, that's it for this video. It's getting a bit too long. Hope you guys liked the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers. Looking to send a package at the lowest price possible? Simple. Visit parcelmonkey.co.uk, follow these 4 simple steps, have the package collected from your doorstep, and then sit back and relax.